The meeting. All right. The meeting is now live streaming on Facebook. So
Yeah.
let's see what happens. I'm got to stop the sound over there on Facebook. There's the sound. Okay. And I will say comments are not supported on private videos. Huh. Well, okay. I'm just gonna do it and see what happens because I'm gonna record it too. Okay, great. Recording in progress. And welcome to Firedance. This is Steve Barnes, and we're reaching you on April 27th. Tananarive is will be in the air in another half hour. I dropped her off at Ontario Airport, came back, and we'll be talking about a number of different things today. But one of the things we like to do first is please unmute yourselves and everybody just give everybody else a high five and hi and a wave. Just kind of get our
Woo!
energy up. That's right.
Everybody,
Everybody, everybody.
kisses from the pit bull.
And just let me tell you, it is so critical. The people in your life are so critical. I'm going to pin myself. Not that I'm more important than anybody. It's very one thing that is kind of difficult to deal with in terms of things like success is that let's say your attitude is I'm as good as anybody. Okay, so you're surrounded by people and your attitude is okay, I'm as good as any of them. You're not thinking you're better than them, you're thinking you're as good as them. Then what happens if you keep moving forward but they don't change and you can see that they haven't changed? Are you now better than them? There is a limited sense in which you could probably pat yourself on the back, breaking your arm in the process, and say that. But there's nothing useful in it. And it does not strike me as being true. And it's not true in any absolute sense. It's not kind and it's not useful. So, how do you do that? How do you keep moving forward, but always remember that that doesn't make you better than anybody else, but at the same time, not let yourself feel that there's anybody better than you. These are fascinating things, and it's probably impossible to keep a perfect balance with it, but I think it's important to try. Today, what I wanted to do is to talk about what's going on because if I'm not mistaken, and it's going to seem strange to say this is a little scary. If I'm not mistaken, we have successfully dealt with this challenge, this situation, this opportunity that we were given. We can't say too much about it right now, but a real director whose movies we have seen and appreciated, a real studio who we have seen many of their films and appreciated. So there's no game going on here. This is real money, real people, really making movies. Came to us and said we would like to start doing this movie in June. We need it rewritten. We had 2 weeks to rewrite it. Maybe we'll have some additional time to do afterwards, but the basic thing had to be done there. And somewhat to my shock, it seems to be going well. We're in constant communication with the director and the director's team. We get notes back. We've shared dynamic documents with them showing what it is that we're doing. There are things that he likes, the things that he doesn't like. When he doesn't like something, we just say okay. I said Mon Capitan. You are the general. We are your troops. Tell us where to go. And because we have been
That happened.
true
Yeah.
we've been true to that. Um, they seem to be just a little bit shocked that we're actually what we said we were. We are a little bit shocked because it hit me about 3 days ago. I was feeling insecure. And I said, well, you know something? All we can do is the best we can do. All we can do is bring 100% of who it is that we are and hope that they are smart about who they hired. In other words, it's not up to us to be something different from who we are. It's up to us to be honest about who we are, and then it's up to them to decide whether who we are is what they need. That that change kind of took some of the pressure off of us. All we can do is the best we can do, and then we hope that they were smart enough to hire the right people. That's an odd perspective to come from, but it's been very useful. If I look back, people who've known me since high school or college, especially, know that I had a certain way about myself, a certain amount of ego protection, because there were things that I wanted to do, and the world told me I couldn't do it, and so I was cocky. I had that. I can do this. I can do anything. I would, affirmations and so forth and so on. And as you can be, as you could probably expect, that as you go through life kicks the shit out of everybody. I mean, it it will show you where you are wrong. It will absolutely hit you upside the head over and over and over again, which is one of the reasons why marketers say that, if you're selling a self-improvement product, always start with the story of how you were on your back, always on the ground, because otherwise, if you take one step towards your goal every day, eventually the people who were where you started will think you were born on the other side of the horizon. They will not remember that you started where they are. You had to have had advantages. You had to be privileged, because otherwise, why, they'd be doing as good as you, and they don't see themselves as doing as good as you. So it's difficult because, how do you embrace that, but at the same time, as I was talking earlier, not let it get to you, not think to yourself, well, I'm better than these people. You're not. Is it all opportunities? Is it all programming? Is it all the allies you find? Is there anything that has to do with what it is that you are instinctively, intuitively at the core? These are metaphysical questions. But on a psychological level, what I know is I'm embracing the three gates. Is it true? I cannot know what is true, so I will default to what is kind. And what is kind is to believe that we all have these capacities within us. There are people who are vastly better than I am at anything I have chosen to do. And the reason I say all this does connect with that question of this script that we're working on right now. If I've gotten the crap kicked out of me in some ways, and I'm not quite as cocky, actually that shell has been destroyed. If I don't still believe that I can do the things that I wanted to do by myself, what I do have is confidence that in partnership with the person that I found, my soulmate, the amazing Tananarive Do, that the two of us together are everything that we need to be to face the challenges that we've got. That we have enough perception of who we are that we don't go after things we can't do. There are tons of goals that we do not have. The question, do you understand yourself? Do you understand what's going to be necessary to reach your goal? Can you quantify what is going to be necessary to reach your goal? Are you willing to pay that price? If you're capable and you're willing and you have correctly assessed how much it costs to get there, and you estimate, for instance, in the magic formula, that the cost of reaching your goal is not something you are not prepared to pay, is not a price that would turn you into someone you don't want to be. It cannot take me away from my sweetheart. It cannot separate me from my children. It cannot damage my body. It cannot make me a bad brother to my sister. It cannot turn me into someone who does not appreciate with all my heart my mentors and the people who I love who have helped me along the way. Whatever my path is to that thing I want, if it increases me, if I can give myself to it unreservedly, then it kind of behooves me to make that commitment. And I look at this, and I look at what it's been like over the last 2 weeks working on this project. And trust me, we have never had a better opportunity in our entire career to get directly to what we want. Brendan Burchard talks about taking any goal and dividing it into 5 steps. Divide a goal into 5 major steps. If I looked back at who I was starting this entire thing called mature adult life, what were my 5 steps? If I looked at this honestly, this would have been the last step. That looking forward from where I was, that all we have to do is execute this with integrity at a high level, and we will get the next opportunity. We will then have to take that next opportunity and analyze that and say, what 5, using Burchard's system, what 5 things would be necessary to do this? We will need to understand exactly what it takes to direct. We will need to surround ourselves with the right people. We'll have to be sure that we understand, all of the, whatever that is. But to not understand when you're at the threshold of something, you don't want to look back at your life and say, God damn it, I got that opportunity and I did not realize how important that opportunity was going to be. I thought I'd have 100 other opportunities like that. I thought, for sure that, I could treat this lightly and it would just be okay and I'd be able to move onward. From time to time, life does give you an opportunity. But it doesn't give you an infinite number of opportunities to accomplish any particular thing. The brass ring does come back around. But I was noticing to Tananari, if we look at our major successes, we sold lots of options for lots of projects. But since we came back from Atlanta, the biggest ones were the Twilight Zone with Jordan Peele, the horror noir thing that we did for Shudder, and then the writer's room last year for Brian Fuller. About 1 major piece per year. You can see that. It's like boom, boom, boom. That's not fast enough because you're playing against the clock. You're playing against time. And so it's how do you speed up that process? And it's in speeding it up that the road bumps happen faster. I'm wandering just a little bit because I'd have to be totally on the other side of this to have clarity upon it. What I'm doing is I'm sharing my confusion with you and the way I think through these things and hoping that some of the perspectives here will be useful for you in your life. So last year, I looked at what was going on. I looked at the reformatory and the way people were reacting to it. I looked at what was happening in terms of different Hollywood possibilities. I looked at what was happening in terms of going to Manila, because I was determined to do that, in terms of Jason getting ready to start college. And I said, it looks to me as if we are approaching a membrane, that we're at the top end of what we were doing. About the time that we were guests of honor at Worldcon, and Toastmasters at World Fantasy, and this and that, I realized there is a sense in which we got to the top of the game here. What's next? what's the next game? And to realize that we would run into problems. We would run into conflicts with each other. I had, jealousies about things happening with Tananarive. It's like, like I've said many, many times, it's not easy watching her win the Los Angeles Times Book Award and then this and that and this and that, even though she totally deserves it. I totally love her for it. Her genius is why I fell in love with her in the first place. This is a natural consequence of her being who she is and doing what she does. And that little boy inside me still kind of says, where's mine? How come people don't love me that much? Just being honest, that dealing with that. And I said, if you're in a tractor traveling down a dirt road, the road doesn't really bother you that much. But if you're in a Ferrari traveling at 90 miles an hour, you don't want to be traveling down a rutted dirt road. My emotions were a rutted dirt road. They were serviceable. They got me everything that I wanted, but it was kind of hodgepodge. It's like taking this piece from here and this piece from here and just finding these tools and these tools because there was no path that was offered for me. And I said, if we start getting better, if we jump up to that next level, we're in a Ferrari and we will not survive a dirt road. We have got to upgrade our game, or else this is where the band breaks up. You understand me? This is where, when the money finally starts coming, and it's not a matter of struggling, it's a matter of being, of owning that next level. This is where marriages and partnerships and bands break up. I don't want this. I want that next level. How do we do this? And so I started searching, and I found I had the blessing dance. Thank goodness. Sifu Carl Totten, who's a clinical psychologist, as well as a martial arts master, as well as a Buddhist priest or Taoist priest, gave us the blessing dance, which has been fantastic. And the most interesting part of the blessing dance, you bow to each other, you put your hands over each other's hearts, you breathe 10 times together whilst gazing into each other's eyes, and then you sing the words, "You are my beloved, I open my heart to you." And one of the things I noticed is that when you sing those words, you have to really pay attention because you're trying to be in harmony with the other person. You're holding their eyes, you're breathing together, you're being in harmony. At that moment, you're bringing everything together in the same place, and you're trying to make beautiful music together. She is who she is. I am who I am. And we're trying to walk together. The level above that was the love feast, which is the notion of putting her needs above my own for 90 days. In order to do that, I had to be totally confident that I was safe, that no matter how she responded, I would be okay. Because it's a perfectly reasonable question. What happens if you give everything to the other person and they don't give back? What happens if they're a taker? It happens. The only way I can go forward is to have faith. Faith in my own judgment, faith in this beautiful person, this beautiful spirit who has trusted me, who placed her heart in my hands. Somebody asked a question. Let me see what this was. The question is only relevant if you view the relationship as transactional, not as transformational. That's right. But I didn't even have those distinctions. I didn't have the distinctions of a transactional relationship, a selfish relationship, where you're just there for what you can get. A transactional relationship is I'll do you if you do me, to a transformational relationship where you just give. I didn't even have those distinctions. And without distinctions, it's hard to know where you are. So So I think that we always had that, but the distinctions made it possible for us to refine that. I never asked Tanana Reeve to go to do a love feast. She would either do it or not do it based on who she is. I didn't even want to talk to her about it in particular. I happen to know that she is because that's just the kind of person that she is. But that wasn't the point. It was never the point. The point was, who am I in this? All of that is to say that today we are in the final stages of this project that, if we successfully complete it, will be transformational in our careers and in our lives. And I cannot begin to tell you how comforting it is to know that the person on the other side of that document, because we use dynamic documents and share it, downstairs in her office or on the plane with her computer hooked into Wi-Fi, is my baby, my award-winning, best-selling New York Times book award-winning baby. She's the one who's on the other end of that. I do the best I can do, and then I go away and I do something else. And when I come back, she's massaged in. It's like having elves. I mean, it really is. It's like, oh, right, okay, that's great. This is wonderful. Yesterday, she had a perspective on something. I disagreed with her perspective. We went at it about that. So finally, I had said, "Okay, you write up your position on it. I'll write up my position on it. We'll send it to the director and see what the director says about it." And the director more or less preferred her version. So, I was grumpy about that. But the treasure of stepping out of my ego and realizing that the director is trusting us, that we're actually on the inside of a circle where, and I was saying to Tananari, I said, we're going to make a lot of money on this, but the director is going to make a lot more than 10 times as much as we're making. This deal is worth it, close to $1 million for him. There's no question in my mind about that. There could be an insecure part of us is saying, well, I wonder if he's jolling us along and secretly they're like saying, oh, this is terrible and oh, what a mistake we made and this, that, and then I said, no, there's too much at stake for him. We are in a situation where he is trusting us to make him $1 million. You think he's not going to let us know what's needed here? He's not going to try to kick our asses if we're not delivering? No, of course he is. This is our insecurity talking. When we worked on the writer's room for Friday the 13th last year, Brian Fuller had one complaint about me. I was trying too hard. He actually told me, Steve, stop trying so hard. You belong in this room. You don't have to prove it. You don't have to try to be clever. You don't have to compete. Just be there. Flow with it. In other words, he knew what he needed for that room. He chose what he needed for that room. He is the conductor. He's telling he's saying, I need this much from the oboes, I need this much from the strings, I need this much from the percussions, I need this, and he doesn't need somebody standing up and blowing frantically saying, pay attention to me. That's my insecurity. There are ways in which it feels that for the first time we found ourselves in a situation, whether it's because we found the right people or because we become the right people, some combination of this, we're just being who we are, just working hard and bringing 100% of who we are every day, taking care of our families, taking care of each other, taking care of our bodies and our minds and our spirits, sitting down, doing the work, chop wood, carry water. We seem to have found a place where that's enough, where we can simply be who we are, and we are providing something that this circle of people need in order to move their lives and their careers forward. All we have to do is honestly bring the best we have. They honestly bring the best they have. And we're making music together. That this could actually, if this is happening, then it's new. And it's a little frightening. And what we have to do is to look at what is next. It's not the same as what's been before. So, what I wanted to do today was talk about 5 things there that will happen if you find yourself approaching the next level. These things will happen. But more importantly, in some ways, when they start happening, you can ask yourself, does this mean that I'm approaching that next level? In other words, it's both something you can count on happening and something that can tell you that you're making genuine change. So before I go any further, I would like to, if you have any questions about anything that I've said up until this period, this is the time for you to ask, and I will deal with them, and then we will go on to 5 things that will happen as you grow. I don't see any questions, comments. Yes, okay. Maurice Barnes.
Hello, everyone. I want to thank those who reached out to me. Steve, I wanted to ask you a question. Sometimes is it better to be Ronin than samurai?
Yes. Um, the hold on for just a second. Just a second. I will pin you again in a moment. But okay, if you can see that. That's the only ink I've got. It's the Japanese kanji for Ronin. A Ronin is a self-employed samurai. That's all. One who works for himself. And so I have that to constantly remind me that I have no safety net. I have no lord that I owe fealty to. Although if I'm working for a particular person, I give them my fealty. I give them my respect. I won't work for people that I don't respect. So a Ronin is a samurai, but he's one who does not have a a specific lord that they are obliged to. I think that you have to ask yourself what you need, how much security, how much freedom, and whether or not there is a lord whose vineyards, whose castle you can protect in alignment with your own values, in alignment with your heart. If there is such a person and you find yourself capable of working with them, I would suggest you do that because it's tough out here, man. It really is. I had no choice. It wasn't that I wanted that. It was that I felt like I had no options. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Okay. Okay, great. Let's see. We had Tom Barkley.
You do, and I have you all. Before the meeting started, you mentioned that you've been offered a chance to direct.
Yes.
I hope you took the chance.
Uh, they asked us if we would be interested. The meeting was on the books, and then they asked us to do this script. So, in the real world, this script is an audition for directing the movie. They are watching us. If we pull this off, the meeting we have with them about directing the movie will be a much warmer room. They will know who we are. We will know who they are, and they will know that they can work with us. I will then look at the question of whether or not I want to direct. Would I rather produce? Would I co-direct? Would I prefer for Tanana Reeve and her best friend, Lucina Fisher, who is a director, to co-direct? Or to have Lucina as an assistant director, or whatever. We will look at these things, but what I'm not going to do is walk away from the opportunity. We will find the best way to do it that will produce a good movie. I could see doing that is a doorway to everything that we've been looking for. So it will be addressed with the absolute utmost seriousness, and I think that we would do it. Yeah, I'm not sure I would know. I'm not sure I would be comfortable not taking that opportunity. It would feel that the only reason I did it was fear, and I'm not willing to let fear stop me from taking care of my family. There are important issues there. There are issues here that are more important than my fear of my limitations. So yeah, we would do it, and wow, what an adventure.
Excellent.
Okay,
Glad to hear
you
it.
bet. And I we'll definitely be talking, because these meetings are our opportunity to refresh ourselves about the the techniques and perspectives and strategies that will get us there. This is one of the reasons why we're as honest as we can possibly be. You're helping us kind of brainstorm by watching you react to things. It helps us to understand. For instance, I would say that the magic formula and Brendan Burchard's High Performance 6 have been the most important things in terms of action on this script. It's like there was my system got us in the game. Now the question was, how do we raise it to an even higher level? And that's an important damn question. There are times when you don't want to be number two. There are times when it's important to succeed. This is one of them. There are times when life is a zero-sum game. We wanted to get that job as opposed to somebody else. They are welcome to go get another job. but this job
Yeah.
is ours.
We are that bitch. Yes, I believe I've
That's
heard
right. That's
They are welcome to
it's,
go get another job.
it's the question of I believe that there is enough abundance for everyone, because the meaning of life is to be happy. Everything else is a path to that happiness. There are infinite paths, infinite values. So my happiness does not have to be at somebody else's expense, although some particular job might very well be. We can't all get grand championship at the tournament, but you might kick my butt next time. So it's like we can cheer for each other. If I got knocked out earlier, I can still cheer for the champions. And it's like, wow, look at the skills. Isn't that wonderful? And here, asking ourselves, do we deserve this? Can we do this? Is it right for us to do this? Those are important questions, especially if you grew up without money, if you grew up without role models of success. How do you deal with the voices in your head that tell you that you can't have success without hurting other people? That it's best to keep your head down. It's best not to try. People will say those things. People will try to insinuate that there's something wrong with you for wanting success. What I think they're really doing is they're saying that they're afraid of it, and I think that their souls are saying, go out there and succeed, Steve. Leave that trail of breadcrumbs so that we can see whether or not we can follow along the way. That's the only way that I'm where I am in my life. I had Larry Niven come over to the house for the first time, and he is so happy for me. He's seen us. He'd seen me struggle for so long, and he basically said, "I've been waiting for you to get rich, Steve." You know, and it's not like I'm rich, except that I am. I mean, that I take a look at human history, and I'm one of the most fortunate human beings who's ever lived on this planet. Just, I don't have to make. It's not a matter of making millions of dollars a year or anything like that. It's just I've got my health, I've got my love, I've got a career. you know, I'd be a fool not to understand how lucky I am in that sense, but also how hard I've worked. If directing is a skill, then we can learn how to do it. Why? Because we are that bitch.
I am. Yeah. There's another lesson in here. I won't.
No, go ahead.
Excess humility or humility for at the wrong time can be toxic. You may think you're doing the right thing spiritually. I did. It turned out to be the wrong thing tactically and strategically. So
Well, I think it can even be the wrong thing spiritually. If the meaning of life is to move away from pain, embrace joy, and be of service, then that's a spiritual path. And people are on some level asking the question, how can I get on that path? Because they are often trapped in the pain. If I can succeed at a very high level and not lose myself and offer as much support to others as possible and encourage other people to trust their hearts and follow their dreams, but at the same time stay safe within themselves, protect themselves, to open their hearts to love, to find ways to help other people, then I am being in alignment with the universe. And false modesty serves no one. Serves no one. So it's a little bit like saying, my wife is better than me. I don't deserve her. Wait a minute. Aren't you putting her down by saying that? Aren't you saying she's stupid for choosing you if you say that? Ultimately, I can say I feel blessed for us to have found each other. I feel blessed. Yeah, I think that she is amazing, but I also think she has good judgment. So I mean, it's difficult. This is If life were easy, everybody would win it. And there's too many people who end up going down side paths. They're mice who are trying to solve a maze where the cheese has been gone for generations. I mean, it's just like, what is it you're trying to do? Ultimately, what you're trying to do is to be happy. And if I'm a happy person and I am in alignment with myself, then frankly, I need to sing it from the treetops because there's so many people who are encouraging us to do things that hurt us or to believe that we cannot or to believe that we're in competition with each other in some ultimate sense. I have the world, I forget who wrote that poem, but the world is not served by playing small. It just isn't. And thank you, Tom. Okay. So let's see. We have Otis Johnson.
Yes.
Otis.
Hey man, I just heard the possibility of you directing, got like super excited. And I've been like on and off on movie sets since like 91. Like I've seen it, I've done it, I've directed a little bit myself. And I just think about your skill set and you are going to rock it. And if not, if you wind up not taking this particular project, you're going to rock it down the road a little bit or
Well,
whatever.
I will either, the way it's looking right now, either I will direct it or Tananarive will direct it or
Mhm.
we will direct it. Those are the three possibilities. Whichever one, if we do that, then we will surround ourselves with a tribe that has any of the skills that we lack. The people we can trust who understand the way we talk. We will have table reads. We will we will live together. We will, create a temporary tribe where we can really interact with each other. I I believe I believe I can learn anything that I can define. There
Mm-hmm.
are skills that I cannot define, but if I can break them down, I think I can. And there's a course called Dove Simon's 3-day film school or
Mm-hmm.
2-day film school, and that breaks down what's necessary in the process of making a film. And we used that when we did Danger Word, but we did not direct it. Danger Word was directed by Lucina Fisher, a good friend of Tenori's, who has had a I think it might have been, well, if they're not an Oscar nomination, it was something at a very high level for her documentaries. So Lucina's got the goods. And so, and there are people like Brian Fuller and Reggie Hudlin and LeVar Burton,
Mm-hmm.
people we can get on the phone who have directed at very high levels, who, who we could sit down with and say, what's necessary to do this? And have them, create a program and then see, what is the cost? Are we willing to pay that cost? And if we are, then go for it. There are a lot of things that are positive. One of the things that would be really great is we could get Jason an apprenticeship doing sound
Mm-hmm.
or something like this on the thing. So you tell me that I can move my family forward at the same time I can forward my dream, at the same time I can make money, at the same time I can have fun, at the same time, in other words, there are sufficient motivations. If I would take a look at the three major aspects of my life, how does this benefit me physically? Well, God, I'd certainly be able to hire the best coaches, the best food, to
Mm-hmm.
get my energy level at the highest level so that I can go to Manila in 2026 and absolutely kick ass and take names. Emotionally, I'm moving my family forward at the same time that I'm satisfying dreams that I didn't even know I had at the same time that we'd be making the most money we've ever made in our lives. So all three areas. Is there anything that is out of alignment with the three gates? No. Is it out of alignment with the three sinners? No. Then I think I have to go for it. The worst that can happen is that I fail.
And like, you're going to surround yourself with a good crew, and with your mind and everything, you'll be able to delegate. And
Yes.
that's all you need to do is just be surrounded in a good little pod of people that will help you. And you've already got it because you know what you want to see. And that's all they need is the vision.
Well, what I have heard is if you get a good assistant director and a
Mm-hmm.
good director of photography,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
and then storyboard the living
Mm-hmm.
hell out of it. And we've already got the storyboard because it's a graphic novel. So we would bring on the artist who created the graphic novel, and if we needed some additional things, they would do it. But now we could have everybody on the crew knowing exactly what we want for every shot
Mm-hmm.
virtually.
You got it.
And then yeah, so yeah, this is going to be quite the adventure.
Yeah.
And trying to do it so that I can always have my Saturday afternoons free, so I can do this will be an interesting challenge. But I have a commitment. Part of why I do the things I do is for my community. It's not just about me. So doing for you guys is doing for myself because I can run out of motivation for me, but I have infinite motivation to give what I am back to the universe while I've got life. That I came from nothing, I will go back to nothing, that for a little while there is this cluster of materials and energies and patterns called Steve. And then one day it will not be here anymore, and all I will keep is what I give away. So if there's a way for me to do this in alignment with my values, I literally don't have the right to say no.
Mm-hmm.
I have to embrace it. Because what if it's a massive success and I open the doors and we can hire all sorts of people and then we can teach people. It's too big not to do. So yeah, I'm gonna do it. If I get the chance, I'm gonna do it. And we have brought everything we know to working on this phase of it, this rewriting this particular script. One of the things that's really interesting is that the script we're writing is not genre. It's not
Mm.
science fiction, fantasy, or horror, which means that we are showing Hollywood that we're more than that. whatever happened, our agent's attitude is very much do this one and let's get into the next one. That what we have, this is a different level. I was saying to Donald, we have never had a chance to do so much, and I don't want to talk about the monies involved, but they're quite substantial. To do this much in this short a time frame that's this much fun. We've never had this before. Let's get it right. Okay, thank you very much, and thanks for cheering us on. I mean, it matters. It genuinely matters. All right, so I'm going to remove all these pins and take a look here. And I think, good. All right, so, and it's just so wonderful to see everybody here. I just am so grateful. And I wanted to talk about 5 things that will happen to you as you begin moving forward in your life. So I'm still experimenting with how to put things on the screen, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. Great. So 5 problems with growing. The first thing that came to me, and it's not the most important, but it's on my mind a lot because I have lost some friends. It hurt. People who challenged the very principles that I have used to get to this point in my life, especially like the 3 gates and the 3 centers, the concept of being in balance, the concept of love, the notions that anger is a mask over fear, that we have to protect that child self within us, that those basic things, they challenged them and challenged them and challenged them until I pushed back just a little bit. And the result was catastrophic. And there's an expression that if you take a look at the 5 people that you spend the most time around, that's going to tell you where you're going to be in life. If you have 4 millionaires, you're going to be number 5. And if you have 4 people who run marathons, you're going to try running a 10K. That you absorb. So you will lose people, but you will lose the people who need to be walking a different path, or are walking a different path, or are not ready for your path. And you will gain, the flip side is that you will gain your tribe. You will find your tribe, but you must be willing to walk alone for a while if necessary, because your old tribe is not necessarily going to be comfortable with you changing. And I know that many of you have experienced that. If you change your diet, if you stop using drugs, if you stop partying and you start working harder, your tribe changes and they will blame you. And it can hurt. So I just want you to be prepared for that. And one of the ways you actually know that you're growing is that some of the people you used to hang around with are no longer comfortable with you. And you have to find a way to be both compassionate towards them, but realize that on some level they know they're caught in a trap. And they're probably cheering for you to make it. The next thing, you will experience imposter syndrome. Oh, yeah. If you grew up around money and health and love and it was just all there, then you're going to feel comfortable growing in those arenas. It's not going to be contrary to your identity. But if you grew up around poor people or people with dysfunctional relationships or people who did not love you and embrace your power and your beauty, who did not support you in your dreams, then in all likelihood you formed an identity that success will violate. When I say that we're at the bottom level, at the bottom of the entire next level of our lives, it's critical for us to understand that, because if we do not, what we have to do is we have to act as if we are the people who can do the thing. that every day we have to wake up and we have to think and feel and do certain things, the things that people at this level do. And if that doesn't match your identity, you got a problem. And you will start feeling like you shouldn't have it or don't deserve it. And you need to surround you, going back to number one, you need to surround yourself with people who will reinforce the new you. You will deal with massive stress. Whether it's positive stress or negative stress, it's still stress. You need to have stress coping mechanisms built into your daily life, my friends. And this is where the 5-minute miracle and the morning ritual come in. Now, just for a second, notice the losing people. How does the 5-minute miracle fit into this? You are imagining mentors, remember, aren't you? Who are the mentors who are the tribe of people who could advise you to do this next thing? If it's writing, I've got Octavia Butler and Larry Niven and William friggin' Shakespeare as my internal models. And trust me, they can answer any questions I have about writing. That imposter syndrome, those people who achieved, every one of them dealt with that too. And they can advise you. And not only that, but if you've got these people as your tribe, then the imposter syndrome is telling you you don't deserve to be there. And in essence, if you can imagine them welcoming you into their presence, are you not questioning their judgment? If I say I don't deserve Tananarive, that's, that put her on a pedestal, that sounds as if I'm honoring her, but it's really insulting her. It's insulting her judgment. I have to say she is magnificent and she has good judgment. I am her partner. I am her mate. How else could I protect her and be at her side? Stress comes largely from resisting. When you are performing in a way that is different from your self-image, there are very few drives in human nature that are stronger than the drive to be in alignment with your self-image. Very few things. So you have to look at this. Also, stress is what is change. If in physically, it's true just like it is emotionally, intellectually. Physically, you stress your body, you give it rest, you give it proper nutrition, and your body grows. Ideally, you stress your body in a way that specifically triggers a growth response in a direction that you want. Same thing is true emotionally. Same thing is true intellectually. So the stress is non-negotiable. Strain, on the other hand, is very negotiable. And if you will do things like the 5-minute miracle, you will cut the stress before it becomes strain. From time to time, you will notice yourself getting a little brittle, a little short-tempered, dealing with some fear responses. That's okay. Observe it, notice it, recenter yourself. If you're doing the 5-minute miracle 5 times a day, then you know how to center yourself. All you have to do is stop and breathe. Get back to that place of peace. You know what peace feels like. So when things are going crazy, you remember what peace feels like. Stop, close the door, get into your car, go out to the parking lot, close your eyes, go to the bathroom, close the door, whatever. Center yourself. Find your center before you go back into that meeting or wherever. We did a podcast with the star of Late Night with the Devil, David Desmalchian. He's really fun. And it was kind of interesting. Before we went on the air, he kind of looked at me, and I'd been to a couple parties at his house, and we'd met a few times. He said, "Steve, you always seem to come from such a peaceful place." And he meditates and journals and does stuff too. And he's dealt with a tremendous number of real issues in his life. He's dealt, this is public knowledge, so I'm not giving away any secrets. He was homeless. He's dealt with drug addiction, serious stuff. And so he really values that sense of peace at the center of who it is that he is, to To find that allows you to be in the middle of a cyclone, of a hurricane, without it destroying you. And that's what you want. You don't want to avoid stress. You want to keep the stress from becoming strain. And as you grow, the doorway to growth will be new levels of stress. In life, they pay you for how much stress you can take without cracking. You will experience new emotions. In order, if I ask the question, if I was raised in a perfect family, in a perfect society that was perfectly supportive of who it is that I am, then my fear and my love and my hope and my dream, all the positives and all the negatives, all that stuff would be colors of the rainbow, and they'd all be in proper perspective. That as we go through life, we start finding that certain emotions dominate over other emotions, and certain kinds of experiences, we prefer this over that. Perfectly natural. That's living in the world. But we can actually disown some of our emotions. We can not acknowledge our fear, or not acknowledge our love, or not acknowledge our faith, not acknowledge our hope, our creativity. These kind of primal things that as you heal yourself so that you can grow, you will begin to feel things that you had not been letting yourself feel. Be ready for it. Be honest about it. This is where journaling and meditation, things like this, are so useful, because all you're doing is you're reclaiming yourself from the world. You're saying, I will experience everything that I am. Hold on for just a moment. I am going to stop the share, and I'm going to hit mute all again. Okay, great. So, before I go any further, this, might not be a bad. Actually, no. I'm going to finish this, and then I will ask for any questions. Okay, do this and share the screen. Okay. And the last one, you will have to embrace a new identity. Now, I've insinuated this with the last four, that to a huge degree, you have to do is get clear on your goals in terms of the magic formula. Be clear on your goals, the I, intention. By studying people who've accomplished it, you get to define who would you have to be to do this, because you're going to have to get up every day and do certain things. And because the meaning of life is to be joyful, you not only have to do these things at a high level, but you have to do them at a high level and have fun in the process. Who is capable of that? Unless you already see yourself as that person, then this is the person you are transforming yourself into, or this is the person who you are going to induce from within yourself. You say, I have that person inside me. I used to be that person. I've behaved that way at times, but I've lost that. Let me step into that so I can be that person more often. I can be that person more consistently. Who is it that you are aiming toward? The golden you, the silver you, the one who, when you meditate and you sit in you look at yourself in a mirror, and this is the most idealized version of who you are, with the body that you'd have if you had perfect habits, the heart, the self-love, and the capacity for relationships that you'd have if you were coming purely from heart because you knew you were safe. The career that is creating abundance for you and for your family and for your community. Because people who feel, like money is a bad thing, I guess they have never bought food for a month for a school in Africa. I've done that. It feels fabulous. It feels unbelievable to put a roof on a church that got hit with a tornado, or just to help somebody pay their bills, help somebody homeless to be able to do things. Money is the ability to help people even if you aren't there. Who do you need to be to do the things you need to do to get the things that are close to your heart and have fun in the process, to do it in alignment with the three gates and to protect the three centers? Who is that person? Because that person will not be the people in number one, not be the person who the people in number one met. The people who you're going to lose are going to look at the new person you're becoming, and it will frighten them. And what you have to do is be loving enough to not let your ego get in the way of your heart, to be able to love them, let them go, support them, help them. I had a friend who I'd known since kindergarten, and he never had the kind of ambitions that I have. And there are ways in which he was kind of a screw up, but man, did we love each other. He just loved me. He totally supported me at all times. There was never a time that he didn't say, Steve, you can do this. There was never a time that he wasn't proud of me. And we were still buddies. And right up until the time that he contracted cancer and was dying. And I still remember one of the very last times I saw him. I got his wheelchair into my car and we went to go see the new James Bond movie together. And we were still buddies, and life was still as good as we could make it. So it's not that you can only associate with people at this who make as much money or run that marathon or are successfully married or whatever it is. But you have to be sure that the people you associate with are willing to embrace the person you have to be to complete your life in your way. So, what I wanted to do now is to not share this and ask, are there any questions, comments, requests about anything that we have covered or whatever is going on in your life? This is your time now. I am done lecturing. So volunteer or you will be voluntold. All right, Maggie, it's Megan. One of my favorite people in the whole world is here. Hello, Megan.
I'm trying to there we go. Here I am.
Yes,
I'm here
I hear
somewhere.
you.
I'm moving from what I was doing to a more comfortable place to sit. Yeah, so I was really moved by what you said about imposter syndrome. And I just
Yes.
wanted to share this little thing, but I also would like to share my 1%. So
Please. That's great. I love that.
I'll start with this thing about imposter syndrome. So just a second. What? You need help? No, I'm fine. That's my love. What?
Excellent.
I'm talking to Steve and everybody. That's my love who would do anything for me. And he just wants to know if I'm okay.
Excellent.
And so when I decided to go to graduate school for fine arts because I figured it was the best way that I was ever going to get at that moment. It was the thing I could do at that moment that would most push me forward. I would have 2 years where that was my job, make art. So I went and I did that. And at the end of that, you have a thesis show. And I put up my thesis show. My faculty wasn't impressed, but there was a woman there from Christchurch. And you put a little book out for people to put comments in. And she wrote in there her contact information and said, we would like to have your exhibit or your work show at our gallery in New Zealand.
Great.
Yeah, great.
Great.
That's really
That's
great.
wonderful. That's
It
more
is-
than
it
1%, sweetie.
No, this was at graduate school. So this was in 2001.
Oh, okay.
And I still had a job and I had to finish my thesis and I did all these things and I got that all done. And then I had to look at this and say, what am I going to do about this? And my sense of imposter syndrome was so enormous that for 6 months, I could not even think of writing this person the letter that they asked me to write. And then I gave up. That was a critical blow to what I had just spent 2 years and $20,000 accomplishing. And I just want to tell people, ain't worth it. Find a way, find a person, find someone like Steve, whom I did not know at that time. Oh yeah, I did, but you were somewhere else. Probably in Atlanta. Anyway, so find someone, be there. Let someone be there for you to hold your hand while you write that letter, because it's just the writing of it. That's the only hard part. Once that's done, then it's off your chest, and then they'll do what they do. But I totally blew the opportunity of a lifetime, because I just couldn't believe anybody. I'm an imposter. I just finished my graduate degree and I'm totally an imposter. So that was that. That was my comment regarding imposter syndrome. And I suppose what I failed to do was reach out to those people that could have supported me, like my friend Steve. I can't hear you, Steve. You're muted.
That's one of the things that you could do. I think that if you identify that imposter syndrome or anything else is one of the things stopping you from reaching that next level, the best thing to do is to have at least 3 different things you can do. Have at least 3 different things. 1, you can reach out to other people. 2, you can exercise, or do Tai Chi and do your morning ritual. Or 3, you can do whatever it is that you find works for you to get yourself out of the problem. Have at least 3, and there's a reason for that. That 3 is a sacred number, in the sense, if you have one option, you feel trapped. If you have 2 options, you can be kind of, well, should I do this? Should I? But if you have 3 options, you feel like you have abundance. Affirming, denying, reconciling. So 3 should be the minimum that you have. Be sure you look for 3 different ways to break yourself out of that. And if you can't think of 2 more, then you set up a Zoom with me, Maggie, and we will brainstorm and we will find it for you. Or ask people in the Zoom, in the chat here. I would bet you anything that people who are on here right now have some ideas for you that would be very useful. And all you have to, and you've already proven to be a part of this community. You're a welcome part of this community. So I bet that they will serve you. Okay?
Yeah. I do want to give you my 1% though.
Oh, go for it.
So I joined a working artist group last October, and I've discovered that there's a mentor there for me, a mentor, or a map person, a person that is doing right now what it is I would like to be doing in 6 months.
Perfect.
And then I also have figured out for myself, thank you, Anna. And I have also figured out for myself the textile artist's equivalent of a micro or mini story, like the dash it off in half an hour or an hour.
Yeah. What is it?
A day story. It's called
Flash
Little
fiction.
Stitches. It's called Little Stitches. And you can meditate first or not. This is 4x4. I'm going to go a little bigger on some of them, but you can complete it in a day or 2, and then you finish something. And I'm happy with
finishing
what I've
is
made
critical.
so far. Yes, finishing was so critical to me. And so when somebody showed me this a couple of weeks ago, I just threw myself into it. And so it's like I can do 1 in a week, or 2, or even maybe 3 if I work very hard in a week.
What I like about this, Meg, is that you weren't just sharing your 1%. You were offering a suggestion to others. To what you just showed us right there is something that's going to help other people. So I'm glad that we're sharing this to YouTube. This is great. That's great. Thank you very much, Maggie. Love you, honey.
Love you too.
Okay, so let's see. Nick's hand is up. Hello, Nick.
Mute there. Hello.
Hello.
I am so excited to have made the contact last time, the last what you call it, Firedance session. I had formulaic questions like, what is the magic formula, the 3 gates? What do you suggest best thing I do to pursue acquisition and utilization of those techniques?
Mm-hmm.
And I tried sending you a sample. I don't even know if that was appropriate, but
No, it was totally appropriate. No, no,
Okay,
no. It's totally appropriate. I just don't always have time, especially,
right.
right now when I'm trying to when I have to be super focused. There is this script at the same time I have to do I have a week to turn in the Star Wars novel, the rewrite of the
Oh,
Star Wars novel too. So there's, it's there. I have to be very careful with my time. But and I'm going to put something in a group chat, something new. I have an AI. I have a AI that I trained to sound like me.
oh,
It sounds like a graduate student, trying to boil down what it is that I teach. But I'm going to actually put the URL for it in chat
hmm.
and would invite you guys to ask it questions. So the questions you had about the magic formula, which is, map or model, action, gratitude, intention, and congruence or coherence. The three gates. Is it asking? Is it true? Is it kind? Is it useful? Whatever it is, that I can tell you those things. But see what happens if you ask the AI questions,
Well,
and see whether or not that's useful. Because I'm trying to be as useful as I can be. Now, those were kind of general questions. Do you have a specific question that you would like to ask me right here and now?
okay, well, I think I mentioned last time feeling blocked on this script I've been working on for the last 4 years. And your discussion about imposter syndrome today and what was said by our lovely friend who showed us the small art piece, um, it suddenly struck me. I generated that script over about a year's time, which is not too bad. Sent it out for cover and got some very strong positive remarks on it, 8 5s and so forth out of 10, which for a first script is not shabby. And and then I got myself tangled up and bogged down. It was almost like I got too close to it's the Icarus thing, maybe. Maybe Icarus is sort of another version of the imposter syndrome. I don't know. But anyway, it was good to hear the tonic, the suggestion of people to call, uh, physical exercise to do. I have drawing and music I can do, which are pretty releasing as well. Um,
Do you have any physical discipline?
I do stretching regularly,
That's good. And
and
you also want to do the breathing that we talk about here. The 5 minute miracle is every hour, at least 5 times a day. You do 60 seconds of deep, slow diaphragmatic breathing.
mhm,
That is the minimum to engage all three aspects of who it is that you are. And now you're in the game, and now I can coach you.
okay.
Okay. So you have a specific question for me.
Oh God. Well,
See, because one of the things I know about you is if I asked you if you have a question, what you gave me was a narrative. So it's very, very critical. So I know that that's what you do to yourself.
yeah,
That a
exactly.
question leads to the next answer, which leads to another question. So now you're just going forward.
So how
Um,
do I discern what is truly my direction?
that's right. And a good question will give you a more direct answer. Formulating the right question is about 80% of the way to your answer. So, what is your question for me today?
How do I get on the train? You're going someplace I've been wanting to go for a long time.
Okay,
How do I
I
get
would
on the train?
suggest I would suggest that you write short stories
Yeah.
because short stories are are vastly easier to publish, but it's very satisfying to see them in print. It will satisfy part of that drive with the script, but it also develops professional level skills, emotions. It protects your IP. It allows you to create IP. Short stories can sell. People option short stories every day to be made into movies.
Mhm.
So it is a way of getting closer to Hollywood while still doing things that are totally under your control. If you don't have an agent after you've sold multiple short stories, it's vastly easier to find an agent.
Mhm.
It's easy. You've proven that you have professional level skills. So that's what I would suggest in terms of if your goal was to make a movie, you can do that outside Hollywood. You can just, you can make a movie on your iPhone and put it up on YouTube, and now you've made and distributed a movie. I mean, seriously, people do it all the time,
Mhm.
and you can set it up so that it's a small version of what a multi-million-dollar movie is. So that is what I would suggest to people, especially if you don't live near Hollywood. If you lived near Hollywood, then it's possible to act in a more direct way by getting a job in Hollywood and knocking on doors and so forth. But if you don't have that, then I strongly suggest take that script you did, write it into a short, extract short stories from it, write those, send those off to magazines, get some sales, have some fun.
Mhm.
Okay?
Okay. Okay.
Okay, because it will lead there. It will, both in terms of building your career and building your skills, it does lead in that direction, and you've got vastly more control. So do the things that you have some control over. Okay,
Okay. All
all
right.
righty,
Thank you.
and keep coming here.
I will.
Okay, great. So let's see who's next. Alexander,
Yeah, okay.
is that
So
you?
that's me. You'd think I would have gotten more progress on this one because I've been grappling with my new identity now about 16, 17 years now, I think, since 2006. You probably know this. I'm very fierce and passionate about going after things. That's how I've ever gotten anywhere with my life.
Yes, of course.
I've used the commitment to my own truth coupled with my anger against anybody that wants to try and stop me. So that's where I've gotten. The problem that I'm having, and I still have it, it's been here since the beginning of the new identity. Um, there's the the warmer, kinder, gentler things about me, when I look at them, when I see them happening, the vulnerability of them is terrifying. And
Mhm.
I'm having trouble accepting it. And I'm having trouble getting comfortable with it so that I can have those moments and not feel like I want to just run away and hide somewhere.
Okay, so what you don't have the right balance between, just this is just a framework. It's not a thing. You don't have the right balance between your child and adult selves. Your adult self is insufficiently protective. You have struggled with being safe the whole time I've known you. You need to handle that shit. And that's primarily money. You need to get your money handled because then you have control over where you live and who you live with and what you do. So you need to look at the question why with somebody at your level of skills and energy because they are considerable. Why have you always had that struggle? You need to look at that. If you look into it deeply enough, you will find some specific beliefs and values that have stood in your way. And then it's a matter of finding the resources to change them. So you have got to ask yourself, no one has been present in your life as much as you have. No one could have stopped you without your cooperation. I say that from a place of loving you.
Oh no, I get it. I get it. It's
It's a bitch, isn't it?
yeah, it is.
So I
It's
need you to make a financial goal. And then what we're going to do is to find the ways for you to reach it. And one of the things you're going to need to do is to change the way you see yourself, your sense of what you deserve, of who you are, of what money is, of what the arts are. Look at that. Who are the people who could actually leverage where you are into what it is that they want? And how do they differ from you? How do they see it differently? How do they see this differently? It's time for you to do that work. Okay? No one
okay.
can do it but you. So if you run your money through the magic formula, who are the people who you would need as advisors. And of course, I'm one of them, but you will need others because I don't have specific knowledge of your arena. What actions do those people take on a daily basis that you have not been taking? What gratitude and positive emotional state would you need to be in order to trust yourself and the universe enough to take those risks? Clarify the amount of money you make, and there's no reason you can't aim at the best money you've ever made or 50% increase over that because you probably can believe it just barely. You want to increase, you want to have a goal that's enough to be transformative, but you can still see if I improve by 1% per week, I could get there. I could get there. You know, it's not billions of dollars, but if your best year ever, do you mind my asking, what was your best year ever?
About 55 grand for that year.
Okay, so if your best year ever was 55, you can aim at 75. Let's get you to $75,000 a year. That there's, you know, of infinite people who've made that much, but there is a difference between the people who are struggling and the people who make 75. 75 is not rich. 75 is middle class. It's
Wow.
at the bottom end of middle class. Okay? Just because of inflation.
Yeesh.
You know, and it changes from one place to another, but that yeesh attitude, see, that says to you that there's a part of you that has a hard time even believing that. So you need to fix that because if you don't have that as part of your identity, you will sabotage yourself. You will not make the phone calls. You will not connect with the people. You will not do the work. You will not follow up because on some level you don't believe you can have it. So $75,000 in the next 12 months, you want to make $75,000. You need to ask, what is it that you would need to do? And people in chat are already talking about that. So they're already there to help you. Get over there.
Yes, sir. I have to say, I hadn't thought about applying. I I know that there's the three sections of existence, you know, your emotions, your finances, and your physical. I hadn't thought to apply the 5-step magic individually to each of those categories. I was looking at magic being the overall on top of them. I hadn't thought to
Well,
take them down and push them into one category.
yeah, I mean, I would say that
Yeah.
you use a separate sheet of paper for each category.
Yeah,
You know,
that makes a
one
lot
for
of
your
sense.
body, one for your relationships, and one for your finances. And break it down, you know, and like it's all right there. I mean, like I said, Brendan Burchard likes to break things down into like, you know, what are the five major steps between where you are and where you want to be? You know, Musashi Miyamoto would have his patterns, you know, find some role model outside me that strikes your heart and then use both at the same, use the magic formula and their pattern at the same time so that you feel like you've got a good global sense of what's necessary. Okay.
Okay,
Okay,
you got a
great.
deal.
You
Thank you.
betcha. Holly Hancock? Holly's got
Hi,
her
how are
hand
you?
up.
Yeah.
I'm doing great. Am I going to be lucky? I'm lucky enough to see Holly. Hi, honey.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm great. And so I wanted to just talk a little bit about my 1% that I got last week, and then
Excellent.
also ask you a question. So this is like a little separate away from writing, but it is about creating because I
Okay.
was in a group all week where I learned to teach. And that was what the process was. It was developing a group of people who would be put on a list so that we could teach. Some of you know I'm a judge, so that we could teach other judges different topics within the realm of the law. And I took that on because I was afraid to take it on, but I took it on. I've only been a judge for 16 months. So I took it on as to push myself to learn also, but also because, I've kind of run away from the teaching aspect of things all of my life because I come from a very long line of educators and teachers, and I was the one who went into law. So I kind of stayed away from, I don't want to teach, I don't want to teach, I don't want to teach. And then at some point, one of the other judges said, well, you know, Holly, you've asked me pretty good questions in this one other class. You should think about teaching. And I was like, no. And then I think they put me on the list to be in this class. This class only happens every so often. They don't often teach people how to teach. But here's what happened. I got a lot of feedback on my final project. So that told me that I got a lot more feedback on my final project that told me that I had a lot of learning to do, but and how to set things up. But I was working with someone. We were paired off. And so my question was, and so I did a lot of growth last week and just in formulating what I wanted to teach and formulating how to teach it to adults. You know, they gave us this whole process of how you teach to children is different, how you teach to adults and people who are already in an industry, you know, how you teach them is very different. So, and that it was all fascinating to me. But I was working with someone who asked me, would you like to work with me? And I said, sure. I knew this person only a little bit, but, you know, and I didn't really know anybody in the group that well. But when she and I started working together, we were having, it just seemed like there was a brain fog or disconnect in terms of we were already both trying to learn how to do this, you know, come up with our content, come up with our demonstration, come up with our, you know, speaking and how we would do it, you know. But every time we talked, we went back to the beginning. Is this what we want to teach? Is this our content? Is this what, you know, and I finally, the last day when we had like the afternoon to kind of plan it and get our PowerPoints and everything together, I finally said, okay, look, this is the music we're going to use. And this, you know, we're going to open with this music and then let's just do this demonstration. And then we did a demonstration where we were talking about protective orders. And so we did like a demonstration. And I said, you're this character, I'm this character. Let's go back and forth and do this and that. So I kind of like prepped it up. And then I said, okay, then you're going to talk about family law, and I'm going to talk about criminal law. And even though we kind of pointed out we were the last people in the room, the last duet in the room, and the next day she still like went off script. And I wasn't good enough to bring it back in. You know, I couldn't. It just went crazy. You know, people started asking all these different questions. We didn't have answers to, and I couldn't bring it back in. You know, and
So let me bring you
it's
in.
ridiculous.
Let me rein you in. What specifically is your question for me today?
How do you do that? How do you work with someone like I'm going to be in this situation again? And there was a reason why there was underlying all of this that she and I couldn't connect because she told me that I was triggering her after it was over because her husband had recently died. And the last time that she saw me was at our swearing in. And that was a good memory, but she was
okay. So I have to go back again. I have to go back again.
Like,
Holly,
oh my God, how
Holly.
do you work with somebody?
Okay.
How do you
So I
do
need you to ask me a specific
process?
question.
The creative process. How, when you're going through a creative process, and you don't really know this person, maybe, you know, you might know who they are, but they paired you up. You have to work in tandem with someone. And
Okay.
I know that you've written in
So
tandem
I can tell you, the Holly, in order for me to tell you, you have to hear something.
Okay.
You are exhibiting by not coming up with a specific question. What you're saying is that
Yes.
you aren't clear. So you have to be clear to help them be clear. So if I know, if I ask you for a question and you give me a lot of context, you tell me a story, then that means you're going to get sucked into their story because your story and their stories talk. So you have to be totally clear on who you are and what your intention is. My intention is to help people. That means that if I see you asking, how do I help people find clarity? The answer is you must be clear. That's the answer. And if you have not And so you're going to look for things like this. Times when there was a very specific thing, and instead of that, you found yourself going in all kinds of different directions. When that happens, that's a
Mm,
perfectly natural, normal human thing. We have to both be capable of going directly to the heart of something and kicking back and letting things expand and go where they want to go. When you're in court, I would bet that you control things. You have to,
yeah.
or nothing would get done. And you have to have rules, procedures, sergeant at arms inside yourself. You know where you're trying to lead them, and you be aware when people start going sideways. There are times when people just need you to listen to their story. There are other times when they need you to be the adult they cannot be for themselves, to remind them that we're going directly from here to the store. We're not going to go to the park. We're not going to go to the planetarium. We're not going to do those other things. We can do those things tomorrow. But right now, we're on this path right here. And you have to do it with love, because people often are tired. They're often scared. On one level, they want to solve the problem, but the only way they know how to deal with the problem is to talk it through. So that's the thing, is to start observing yourself and start noticing, because they're having the same problem. It's perfect, because if you solve the problem for yourself, you'll solve it also it'll be much easier to help them. That's probably what they're coming to you for, is be clearer than I can be. I can't be clear. I'm stuck in all of this stuff. You have to be able to sit back and say
Right.
this, and that's what they're looking for. Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, you bet. Linda, let's see if we don't have time to. Linda has not asked very many questions. You had your hand up, Linda? Linda Dickens?
Actually, no, I didn't. But if you want me
Oh,
to talk, I can.
well, actually, we're out of time, but what I would like is for you to have something to ask me next week.
Okay,
Okay,
I
I
will
wanted
work
to
on
be
that.
I wanted to be sure. So here's what I would like you guys to do, is to unmute yourselves and say goodbye, because we're like out of time, and it's been a wonderful time today.
Goodbye,
Thank
everybody.
you
Bye,
all
everybody.
so
Next
much
Bye.
again.
These
Thank you
sections,
all.
wonderful. Bye, everybody.
Bye,
Namaste.
everyone.
Bye,
Can't come
everybody.
back. I don't know how it
We
works.
can't hear you, Alex.
You
You're
don't.
Oh,
muted.
there
I'm
you
done.
go.
I'm just yelling like everybody else.
So, what I'd like to say is that it's very meaningful to me and to Tananarive, who is on her way to Atlanta, and she's going to be flying to Tallahassee, where she's going to be doing a book event today. And she sends her love and her appreciation to each and every one of you. She'll be back next week. My baby, I'll tell you, she kind of astonishes me, she's one of the reasons I feel constantly that I need to be the best man I can be, because she deserves the whole world, and she's trusted me to walk at her side, and I will not fail her if I have anything to say about it at all. And I'd like to say goodbye to everyone today with the Sanskrit expression that says that the divinity within me salutes and acknowledges the divinity within each and every one of you. Namaste.